Good morning, Britain. Protests continue in Wisconsin as the police officer who shot Jacob Blake is named overnight. President Trump vows to restore order by bringing in the National Guard as the vice president appeals for calm on the streets.
So let me be clear. The violence must stop. Too many heroes have died defending our freedom to see Americans strike each other down.
We meet the man who had to have both his legs amputated after surviving a near-fatal crash, only to contract coronavirus during his rehabilitation. His amazing story of survival coming up later in the show.
Kill them or catch and release them? Where do you stand on the grey spider debate? We'll be hearing from the experts as they try to convince me it's time to protect our eight-legged friends.
And safe to sing after restrictions are eased in Wales, we'll be treated to the first socially distanced live performance of the Cowbridge Male Voice Choir.
And we're in for a pretty messy day across the British Isles. Some of us will see some bright spells of sunshine, but showers on the way, rain in the north, and more rain to come in the south. All that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Thursday, 27th of August 2020, live from Television Centre in London. This is Good Morning Britain with Sean Fletcher and Ranvir Singh.
Good morning, Britain. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme.
So let's go straight into our main story this morning. In America, in fact, almost 1,000 National Guard troops have arrived in Wisconsin overnight to control violent clashes between police and protesters in the city of Kenosha. That's where Jacob Blake was shot repeatedly by a police officer on Sunday. It
follows the arrest of a 17-year-old accused of killing two people during riots there on Tuesday night. Jagruti Dave is in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Jagruti. These troops, they're really a show of force from the White House, aren't they?
Yes, that does seem to be the message that the president is sending. Earlier, he tweeted that he would be sending federal law enforcement to Wisconsin to restore law and order. He added, "We will not stand for looting, arson, violence and lawlessness on America's street." This message of law and order was one that the president frequently pushed out in the aftermath of the shooting, the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And as protests swept across the country after that incident, he criticised local Democrats for failing, for what he said was their failure to contain the protests, and he threatened to send in federal law enforcement to control those protests if those local lawmakers couldn't. So now his attention turns to Kenosha, which has seen days of protests. Kenosha is a city reeling from more destruction, damage to property and the loss of two lives. The accused, a 17-year-old allegedly at the protests in support of police, now charged with murder. Hundreds of National Guard troops arrived in the city overnight, sent from the White House, to end the violence sparked by the shooting of Jacob Blake by police on Sunday. The Wisconsin Attorney General said the investigation into the incident that left Blake paralysed from the waist down continues. A knife was found in Blake's car where his three children watched from the back seat. And the officer allegedly responsible for the 7 shots in his back had been on the force for 7 years.
There has been a lot of division recently. It's easy for politicians to stoke division. But what we need to do is to come together as we work to strengthen our criminal justice system, as we work to call for justice in the system, and as we work to heal our communities.
But the pain felt in Wisconsin has already spread beyond its borders. On Wednesday, across the country, major sports stars pulled out of scheduled events, and 3 NBA games were called off in the name of another African-American gunned down by the police, and a show of support against racial injustice.
Meanwhile, the Republican Party National Convention has continued for a third night as the situation in Wisconsin. Is it being reflected there, Jagruti? Are they talking about it there? Or are they ignoring it?
Well, Vice President Mike Pence, while he didn't mention Jacob Blake